Good morning, everyone, or good evening, or good afternoon,
Hello.
whichever you
Good
prefer.
afternoon.
Welcome to the Reconstructing History podcast. My name is Bob,
Welcome. I'm Kass.
and we are podcasting to you again and still from our varied and oceans apart locations.
Yeah, you won't know this because for you, there has been no break because we had a bunch of podcasts stacked up. But the reason we did that was we thought that Bob was coming back to the Netherlands the first week of May.
Yeah.
And here it's the first week of May, and he's probably stuck for another 3 months. And
Yep.
we're not happy.
Nope.
But we thought he'd be actually in the same room with me at this point,
And we were
and
going to
he's
get
not.
everything set up and pretty, and, you know, I wouldn't be in my old bedroom.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
is.
We finally get our studio set up here at the new house, which I've been living in for 5 months now.
Yeah.
By
But the
me
good
and
news
Flash.
is, the good news is, I am fully vaccinated. I was sorted into House Pfizer, whose motto is, "See, we do make more than Viagra." But yeah,
Oh, I
the
didn't even think about that. Look at the opportunity for all the hard-on jokes I could have made at your expense
I
when
know,
you were
right?
getting your shot.
I know, right?
Oh, you see, Pfizer is the one pharmaceutical company. No lie, Pfizer is the one pharmaceutical company that I didn't ever work for.
That's
That's
right. You
in
worked
the.
for like all of. You worked for Merck. You worked for J&J.
I worked for Merck. I worked for a bunch of different J
Yeah.
and J's. I worked for Ortho McNeil. I worked for uh, what's her name's um, Wyeth Ayerst.
Yeah. And well,
You know,
and that, ladies and gentlemen, people who are listening to the audio podcast won't see this, but that is why you can see my baby face, because I vowed to myself that when I got the second jab, that I would shave off my COVID beard. And behold,
yeah. And I always thought the plan was, oh, he's going to shave before he gets on a plane because he knows I hate beards. But then he didn't get on a plane.
yeah.
So,
But what I did get to do was my dad has he hasn't used a blade razor in literally decades. He has an electric, one of those Norelco with the three little disc looking things on it. But on the back is a clipper type thing that you gents can use to trim their facial hair, like sideburns and mustaches. Well, I use that like a set of clippers to get through the face fungus. And rather than make a mess of the bathroom, I went out on the patio and sat on the back porch steps and just went through almost an entire charge on this poor rechargeable electric razor, and ended up with enough hair to fill both of my cupped hands like this. And
and the birds in the neighborhood were so happy because it's bird nest building season.
exactly, I took it down to the backyard, which was freshly mown, and put it like in the middle of the backyard. And it wasn't windy that day. It was warm and sunny and pleasant and still. And I went back out like an hour later, and it was gone. Gone.
Wow.
So my face is nurturing young songbirds somewhere in the vicinity of Lewistown, Pennsylvania, and that just makes me feel good. I don't,
Oh, such a
maybe
sap.
I'm a
Yeah,
dope, but
every once in a while I take Flash outside and give him a good brushing and
oh
get
yeah,
his undercoat, and then I have little Flash white snowballs
yep,
tumbling across the lawn.
yeah. Well, Flash is lining a bird's nest somewhere. It,
He is lining a dog bed. Honest to God, I was telling my friend the other day. She was saying, oh, at least you have Flash to keep you company. I'm like, Flash doesn't keep anyone company. Flash literally wakes me up at 7 o'clock in the morning. It's a routine. Wakes me up at 7 o'clock in the morning. I take him out. He does his business. He comes back in. I feed him breakfast. Then He fusses for about 5 seconds, realizes he doesn't have to go out again, and goes to sleep. And then he sleeps until 5 o'clock in the afternoon, at
Now,
which point,
give him credit. He does wake up from time to time and go from one bed to the other.
yeah, but typically here, what he's been doing is he eats his breakfast in the big room with the nice windows. And then when he's done eating his breakfast, he goes and takes a drink in the hallway, and then he goes into his night bed
Right.
in front of the other windows. But then he stays there all day.
Really? Huh.
Until 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock, he comes out, he trots in here, throws a bit of a fit, and then I take him out again. He leads me on a merry chase, and then he harasses me because I refuse to feed him right away.
Right.
He eats at 7 and 7, and I'm not. We've been doing that for years. His whole life, he's eaten 7 and 7. So then 7 o'clock comes around, and he usually forgets about it because he starts harassing me at 5,
Right.
and usually stops harassing me by 7. But that's good because I don't want to be responding to his harassment. So then I feed him at 7. And then he doesn't go out because he's been out at 5. And then he goes back to sleep. And then some around, 10, 11 o'clock at night, I shove him out the door in some mad attempt to get him to go one last time so I could sleep late, which almost never works. Most of the time he just goes out there and stands there like, why am I outside? Or the most he'll do is go eat rabbit poop, but he almost never
Yard fudge.
does business.
Yard fudge.
And so basically he sleeps. He's not much of a companion animal.
Well, the good news is I've met all the dogs in the neighborhood now. There's Max the Labradoodle, whom I meet most mornings when I'm going, because I walk down to the corner store to get the paper that my parents don't have delivered. And he's out with his mistress before she goes to work, and he smiles at me. He sees me walking up the alley, and he'll come over in play position. He's very sweet. Max the Labradoodle. There's Jojo, the golden retriever, who can gum an entire softball. she's a golden retriever she's an old lady, but she loves her little girls, and she follows them around, and we find softballs all up and down because the whole street, none of the yards are separate, they're all just one. There's walkways, but anyway, so yeah, her softballs end up all up and down the block. So Dad and I bowl them back up like we're playing bocce. And then there's Zika, the Pibble, who lives around the corner, who is very sweet. And Easter time, this story's a few weeks old. We had a big old ham for Easter, as you do. And in the middle of the ham was this humongous ham bone. And I said, I don't just want to, there's too many dogs around here. Let me go see if I can find someone who'll take it. So I took it round the corner to Zika's house. And I don't know I don't know her humans' names. No idea.
Never do. Zika's family.
Zika's humans. And I knocked on the door, and I met her humans. And I said, I don't want to just give this to her. And he said, I appreciate it, but we tried that once, and the next couple of days were not pleasant. I said, oh, say no more. I know exactly what you're talking about. And as we're standing on the porch talking, Zika came out, and of course I had to say hi. So I squatted down to give her pets, and she turned around and stuck her butt in between my knees, sat down, and immediately started slurping up my face, like turning her head around like this to slurp up my face. She's so sweet. Like all Pibbles. Sweetness and light. And
but yeah, can't give them bones.
No.
Can't give them bones.
No. No.
No.
So the ham bone went in with the trash, alas. But yeah, there's a couple more, but I won't bore you.
I realize I don't know the neighborhood dogs because well, I don't take Flash out. We have a yard now, so he
Yeah.
goes out and runs around. And he actually runs around the yard, which is better exercise than he gets at the end of a leash
Yeah.
because, he doesn't go that fast. I mean, not that he runs around the yard a lot, but he runs, which is something that, he hasn't had the opportunity to do for years.
Yeah, not since we moved, that's for sure.
No. So he goes out. I mean, he doesn't run. He lopes, you know. But he goes
does
from
more than
one
saunter vaguely around.
Yeah, he does. He does. And I mean, he goes faster than he could go with me at the end of a leash, certainly.
Yeah.
But there's a Bernese mountain dog that I see sometimes, one of the neighbors has, who comes up, and it's kind of funny. The first time I met him, I don't know his name, but the first time I met him, he was walking behind me, and his master was trying to hold him back because they were gaining on me.
Right.
And, it clearly didn't want to surprise me. But he just came up with his big old head and stuck his nose in my hands, And I went, "Oh, hello. Yeah, that's a nice nose you have,
And then there was
and
a
his
little
master
doggy.
was like, no. Like, oh, it's okay. It's okay.
There was
And
a little doggy you met over in the village. You sent me the video. You should cut that in here. How the little doggy just came and said hi, whether you liked it or not.
Yeah, little doggy in the village.
Hello. Very nice. Hello. Hello. Fijne dag.
Yeah, every once in a while. I mean, there are lots of people have dogs here, and people are out walking all the time and often with their dogs. But I'm not, so I don't see them that often.
Right.
Because I mean, I've had a couple of weeks. Oh my God! Like one printer goes down,
Yeah.
and then had to get a part, couldn't get a part. It's too old. They don't make the part anymore. All this kind of stuff. Then somebody sends me a part for free, which was absolutely amazing.
Amazing.
And wouldn't even let me pay him shipping for it. Just sent me these parts that worked perfectly. And then the other printer goes down.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and it's telling me it needs a printer drum. And I just replaced the printer drum like the week before. Why does it need a drum? So I'm calling the company and going, did you send me a defective drum? And I'm printing out reports, and it says 0% on the drum. Oh, it just isn't recognizing the drum. So you have to do this and push that and, do this kind of like God mode cheat thing. It's true. I mean, you get a screen, you like push all these buttons that you don't even know exist, and you get a screen that you've never seen before, and then you put in all these numbers, and it goes, oh, there's a new drum. I didn't know. And suddenly it goes to 100%. And then it still has the same problem because now it's not detecting the fuser unit, which I replaced 3 months ago.
Right.
And now I'm sitting here, if we have to pause in the middle of the podcast, it's because the doorbell rang because they're freaking sending me a new fuser unit today.
Hopefully they send you another happy surprise gift too.
Oh yeah. Those of you who follow my Instagram account will know that, yes, as an apology because they thought it was their brand toner. Because normally I buy the
non-OEM.
I usually buy the Brother brand toner.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Because our printer got mucked up before with the
non-OEM
private label, the cheap stuff. So it's just like, I just won't buy the cheap stuff. I'll buy the expensive stuff. I mean, it galls me, but if the printer's going to get gunked up, can't do that,
Yeah.
And so they sent me a new toner cartridge and an apology in the guise of a drink box, but it's not juice, it's Chardonnay.
Insert picture here. It looks like what is this, a Capri Sun? Nope.
Yeah, I was totally like, oh, they sent me a juice box. Does that say Chardonnay? I mean, the 11% alcohol by volume. I mean, it's not.
Post-it notes?
It's Europe.
Pens?
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah, and I mean, a couple people on Instagram were like, oh, adult juice box. And like, yeah, it's just too bad that I don't drink wine.
Save it. It can age gracefully until I get back. The one kind of wine I don't really like, but I'll drink it.
It's just, but it's usually I pulled the toner out of the box, and the rest of the box is packing material.
Yeah.
And they usually pack with brown paper, so it's a cardboard box with paper in it, and that all goes in the recycling. So it's really lucky that I saw it at all, because I just take the toner cartridge out and then put everything else in the paper recycling. But I was like, what is that green thing? And it's a wine box.
It's a
And
Capri Sun full of Chardonnay.
yeah, but you know what I've been through with this printer, it really, I need vodka. They need to send me vodka.
Little plastic airline bottles of Genever.
Yeah. Bourbon. They need to send me bourbon.
Seriously. Oh my God. The other night we were watching Jeopardy, and the answer was this kind of American spirits is also shares a name with the French royal family. And the one person,
Bourbon.
yeah, and the one person answered Jameson.
Not American.
And yeah.
Not French.
And the second person named another brand name. I can't remember what it was, but it was at least an American bourbon. But Anderson Cooper was the guest host of that episode of Jeopardy, because Alex Trebek died some weeks ago.
Oh my God! I've been watching too many Expanse podcasts, because you said Anderson Cooper, and I thought Anderson Dawes, and had this picture of
right.
But Jared Harris in my head, speaking some South African dialect.
Here's CNN's Anderson Cooper. Hang on. He's got the card, and he looks at the card, looks at the contestant, looks at the card, looks at the contestant, and says, "No, I'm sorry, that's wrong." And then nobody chimed in. The third person just went, not ringing in. And he was at Bourbon. The style of spirits. That was the important thing. The style of spirits is called
also
Bourbon.
The French royal family. I mean, I don't know much about French royalty, but I know the word bourbon. Bourbon.
Bourbon.
Yeah. The Duchesse de Bourbon. Oh, that's Bourgogne. That's Bourgogne.
Yeah, it's Burgundy. Sorry.
See, I don't even know. I don't even know.
But yeah, bourbon. I could have some.
Yeah, so they can send me hooch. With all the trouble I've had with this damn printer, they can send me hooch, and then it's just like, it was kind of funny on Friday. I was having this problem again and going, okay, the drum's fine, the toner's fine, it must be the fuser unit. And they were like, well, there's no way to reset a fuser unit. So here's what we can do. We can either, you can buy a new printer.
Yay.
And I'm like, yeah, except they're Dutch, so they don't want to waste money on a new printer when you can fix the old one, which I really, really appreciate. I mean, it's 2 years old, but we really push it beyond its capacity. I mean,
how does the saying go? Rode hard and put away wet.
Yeah. I mean, it is a commercial printer. It's a professional office printer,
right? But
it's an office printer, not a print shop printer. And we're using it to do, all of our pattern interiors, all the A4 letter size pages. So that it's pushed to its limits is really something.
I'm really surprised this lasted this long.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, I was looking through, like, before I went to sleep last night, I always look through my Google News feed, like have a Google feed, and it's not necessarily news stories, it's also like travel and just based on what you Google.
Yeah.
And I must have Googled something about the fuser unit, because it sent me this thing, how to reset your fuser unit. And the printer people just told me that you can't reset a fuser unit like you can reset a drum unit.
Mm-hmm.
But this website seems to think I could. And it was, again, you go into the secret place where no one goes and find a secret number. Literally, I mean, literally, it is a secret screen that you have to touch a blank thing that has no, it's not like you go into, info and parts and replacement parts and part life or anything like that, because you do that normally.
You got to
And
know
that's
where
where
the
it says-
Easter egg is. You got to know where to point Duke
Yeah.
Nukem's gun.
You literally go into a menu and you scroll to the bottom of the menu where there are like 2 blanks, and you push the bottom blank
Yeah.
and go to the secret room, and then you have to know the secret combination of numbers to get the God mode. And I mean, it's such a video game. And so I pushed in the numbers, and it was like, maintenance mode. And then you have to push a couple more numbers, and it's reset fuser unit. Yes. And I reset the fuser unit. It didn't do anything, but I did it.
Nice. You replaced the
So,
fuser unit,
yeah,
which
I
wasn't
think-
easy in itself, because that involves
No.
screwdrivers and ribbon cables and all that nonsense.
Yeah, and I'm going to be really pissed off if I went through all that in January or something, February.
Something like that, February. Yeah.
And replaced the fuser unit, which made me incredibly nervous that I was going to break something and,
I remember.
irreparably damage the printer. And it worked for a while. But now I'm seeing that like the printer never recognized that there was a new one. So I don't know. And I don't know. They need to send me a case of bourbon now. Now that I think about it. It's
Dear ink and toner people, I like Maker's Mark.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. So they're sending me a new fuser, and they're like, sending you the new fuser, and they're sending me name brand toner. And they said, try the toner. If the toner works, then you pay for the toner. And ship back the toner that is our brand and didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
But if that doesn't solve the problem, then try the new fuser unit. And if that doesn't solve the problem, send the fuser unit back. I mean, they're basically not charging me for anything until they find me a solution.
That's great.
Which I think is absolutely wonderful.
You gonna plug them for our Dutch listeners?
Yeah, if you're in the Netherlands and you need toner or ink or printer parts or copier paper, inked once 1 2 3 1 2 3 inked 1 2 3 inked INKT .nl
1 2 3 inked.nl. Yep, they're fabulous people.
I'll put their URL. They also operate in Belgium, but I don't know if it's the same URL.
Yeah, I think it's Benelux. They go through Benelux. So
yeah, they have a thing like you have to choose which country you're in if you're in the Netherlands or Belgium.
But yeah,
at the top of their
swell people.
But yeah,
and you will end up with hundreds and hundreds of pens within like your first 3 orders.
Yes, you will end up with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pens. But
you
every
will never
once in a
want
while,
for a ballpoint.
Every once in a while, wine. So,
that just slays me.
I was so shocked. I'm still so American that I don't expect there to be a thing of wine.
I know, right?
It's like, I mean, it's just funny. It's just another drink.
Yeah, really.
It's just another drink. But
imagine the outcry if an American company would send like a sippy cup sized packet of alcohol beverage.
Oh my God. And
America.
This is the thing.
God.
Here's the thing.
But kids could get it.
Yeah. The kids are drinking it. And this is the thing, and this is the thing that I've always said. I surmised when I was a kid that there was a relationship between kids who were forbidden alcohol and kids who drank on the sly.
Yeah.
And I had this friend in high school who used to get, like, he would get caught drinking and his parents would ground him for a month. And he couldn't talk on the phone. He couldn't leave the house except to go to school, you know, the whole thing. And I mean, severe for having a drink. And I mean, he was 18 at the time. You know,
Right.
I know the drinking age in Pennsylvania is 21, but they were just really, really hard on him. And, you know, you had kids in my school getting arrested because they were having parties up in the woods, you know, keg parties up in the woods and shit like this. And I was just like, I remember I got invited to a New Year's Eve party, and the person's parents were going to be away, and they were going to have a keg, and everyone was all excited, oh, they're going to have a keg. And I was like, okay, I'll come to your damn party. And I went to the party, and it was so incredibly boring because all the boys were downstairs in the basement sitting around the keg like it was a hookah, you know, and not speaking to even each other, just like sitting there drinking.
Steadily.
And all the
getting
girls
drunk,
were
yeah.
upstairs giggling and talking about boys. And I thought, I'm gonna go home, you know. This
Yeah.
is boring.
Yeah.
This is completely boring. And I grew up in a household where there was beer in the fridge, you know, there was wine with dinner. There's always wine with dinner. My parents always had a cocktail before dinner. And alcohol was never my rebellion.
Right.
Because how can it be your rebellion if you're allowed to? I mean, I wasn't allowed to go and get a beer out of the fridge, but I always had my little wine glass with dinner, and that was my child-sized wine glass. It probably had 2 ounces of wine in it,
Right.
you know. And I remember when I was like 17 years old, that was the year that wine coolers became a thing.
Oh God.
And I
Yeah.
remember I was on the phone with this boy, and he's like, oh, what you doing? And I said, oh, drinking a wine cooler. And he's like, what, are your parents not home? And I was like, no, my mom's right there. And he's like, well, how are you drinking a wine cooler? I'm like, she bought them for me because I wanted to try them.
Right.
So she bought me the wine coolers, and I tried them. And, you know, I didn't drink all 4 of them at once. I drank
Right.
them like you drink a thing that you want to enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah. Except they're
And
they're wine coolers and ugh.
yeah, I mean, I was 17. What did I know? But, you know, but I mean, I honestly didn't get, well, I didn't get drunk until college,
Mm-hmm.
really. And I never got stupid until 2 years after I graduated from college, you know?
Got to do it once or twice.
And yeah, and I've always wondered if, you know, I wasn't rebellious with alcohol because how can you be rebellious with alcohol if people let you drink?
Yeah.
You know?
It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, if you want your kids not to rebel, I mean, what is it? It's an adage. I mean, it's the forbidden fruit.
Mm-hmm.
If you
And the thing is, the forbidden fruit, especially because like these parents of my friends who were grounding their kids for a month if they caught them drinking alcohol, they were also drinkers. Like, how
Right.
can you drink in front of a child and say, oh, but you know, you can't have a sip.
Here's this
you know?
mysterious thing that you can never have. Of course you're going to breed disobedience.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't understand anything about parenting. Don't get me wrong. But what I'm saying is, and I understand it's illegal, and if you buy alcohol for a minor, even if they're your child, you can get arrested for it. But they did a study like last year in the Netherlands, or before the pandemic started, this study came out. And it, like in the Netherlands, alcohol is everywhere. It's in the supermarkets, it's in every store. You know,
It's in the
it's like St.
gym.
Croix.
It's
Yeah.
there's a
Oh yeah,
bar in
yeah.
the
There's a
gym.
bar. There's a bar in the gym, and it doesn't sell smoothies. It sells beer.
What does it
You
also
know?
sells like smoothies and tea and stuff like that, but it's
Yeah,
beer.
but the point
They're
being,
rehydrating with beer.
it's not a smoothie bar.
Right.
And my Pilates instructor used to joke about, yeah, she said when I was 20 in my 20s, we used to all go to the gym and we'd work out and then we'd have a beer and ruin it all, gain all the
The
calories back.
the ice skating or
There's
the swimming pool. I almost said the ice skating rink, which it could be, I suppose. But no, the swimming pool in Earsall has a bar in it.
Mhm.
So the
Yeah,
parents drop their
the
kids off.
library.
Yeah,
The library
yeah,
has a bar, you know. And I mean, the other big thing in Dutch culture is you can get a coffee,
right.
like a cappuccino or espresso or something, like a real coffee, not just a coffee out of a machine. Um, but these are important things, and so like drinking is everywhere.
Hmm.
There's It's not like even the bottle shop closes at 8 p.m. No, the supermarket's open. It's all at the supermarket. You don't have to go anywhere special. And it's not like places like during the pandemic in Ireland, I think there were places that alcohol sales were prohibited after a certain hour.
Hmm.
Like the places could stay open, but
Mm.
they can only sell alcohol till 8 o'clock at night, but they could stay open until 10.
Right,
Well, we didn't do that. Either you're open or you're not.
right.
You're open and you sell all the stuff you sell, or you're closed. And
I remember seeing video of, or maybe it was a newspaper story of a when the shutdown first hit Ireland, like a pub owner, uh, you could order online, and they would bring the pint to your house.
Mhm.
Like your man rolling up with a cart that had a keg of Guinness in it, and he would draw you a pint into a plastic cup and like sit it on your doorstep, back off and wave, and then you go out, you pick up your pint, and you go back in your house. And I'm like,
Yeah, they were doing
that is the Irishest thing
takeaway
I've ever
points,
seen.
takeaway pints. And but here, and I keep going back to the study. They did a study right before the pandemic. This study came out, and it talked about how much the Dutch drink, and it's surprisingly little.
Yeah,
Like most people don't have 2 units of alcohol a week. Which is less than
they're just not trying hard
one.
enough.
Yeah, I mean it's less than one with dinner.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
It's one with dinner on Saturday and one with dinner on Sunday or something. And it was just and it was something like over 50% of Dutch people say they don't drink at all.
but yeah, it is
And
surprising because I mean, the grocery store that commonly got my business in Earsall last fall added a spirits section.
Mhm.
Like they
Yeah,
moved the
I
customer
do.
service counter halfway across the store so they could put a spirits section in. And every
I
grocery
do
store has an
wonder what their
aisle that is
definition.
nothing but wine and another aisle that's nothing but beer.
I do wonder what the study's definition of drink is.
Well,
Oh, I don't drink.
it probably uses the standard alcohol unit, like what is it, 4 ounces of spirits, 12-ounce beer, or 10 ounces of wine, or something like that.
No,
There's a.
it's one ounce of spirit.
Is it okay?
Where are you getting a 4-ounce shot?
I'm pouring them myself. Uh,
You're a heavy pour.
I
You're a
learned how
heavy
to
pour.
I learned how to pour on St. Croix.
Yeah, I guess so.
That's where a 4-ounce pour is normal.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just not. I mean, you go to the cafe and there are people, everybody's got a beer, but
Yeah.
um, it's just not a thing. And
It excess isn't a thing, generally speaking, and I think it's because I think it's because you're exposed to it so early and so often that it becomes normal. Like there's another. The Dutch come up in studies about sex education all the time too, especially
Mm-hmm.
when talking about it in the American sense, we're just we don't want to talk about it at all. No,
Mm-hmm.
and like the contraception is easy and available. Abortion is easy and available. Sex education is taught from the time the infant becomes sentient all the way through school. And if American logic would hold, every Dutch girl would be pregnant when she becomes fertile, but
Mm-hmm.
they're not. Teen pregnancy rates
Yeah,
have
and that was
gone way
another study that
down,
came out.
and the study said that they're having less sex,
Mm-hmm.
and so it
Yeah, and
this
there was a
prohibition
study
never
about.
works, kids. That's the moral of the story.
No,
Prohibition
it doesn't.
just makes it worse, and it leads to
Yeah, I mean,
organized
didn't we
crime.
learn? Didn't we learn from the 1920s that prohibition doesn't work? Um,
Clearly
you
not.
know, yeah, there was this study that I read, well, not study, but census information that was just talking about unwanted pregnancies. That I think the Netherlands has the lowest rate of unwanted pregnancies of any country in Europe,
Yeah,
which
probably.
is a little surprising to me that we're the lowest because I don't think we're that much better than, Germany or I was going to say France, but France is kind of insane. France is France has got a whole lot of problems. But other places and other places that aren't poisoned with this idea that you have to uh, you can't tell children things.
Yeah.
And here, to hear Americans talk about the Netherlands, oh, we drop our children off in woods and let them find their way home. That is when that story broke over here. It was so everybody was so amused. Nobody for a second went, "Oh my God, what must the Americans think of us?" Nobody cared. Everyone was just like, "You think we drop off our children in the woods and then go home without them?" Like number one, it's like a scout trip
Yeah.
and it's orienteering, and you
Yeah.
don't go home without them. They have their thing they do,
Yeah.
and you go to the place they're going to meet you.
That happened to me in high school, believe it or not.
Yeah.
For a cross country practice, Coach Sprecher piled all the cross country kids in one of the school district vans, drove us out to one of the state parks, handed like every other one of us a map with an X marked on it saying, the van will be here. Got back in the van and drove away. And we're
Mm-hmm.
like, what?
Yeah.
Even though I was not fast, I inadvertently became the leader of that because I was a Boy Scout and knew how to read the
Mm-hmm.
map and was familiar with that state park. So, and we still got lost a couple of times because it was an old map. And some of the roads were new. I think we turn here. Nope, not. But anyway, we were supposed to do like, if we had gone from where he dropped us off to where he was picking us up, we'd have done like a 10K. We ended up doing like 18 because we got lost a couple of times.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, it was a lovely. We're running through the woods. It's a brisk, crisp autumn day. It was gorgeous. But yeah,
Yeah. It's
by the end
it's
of 18K, we're just like we're gonna murder someone. But yeah, you tried doing
yeah.
that today. You tried
Yeah.
doing that today. He'd have
And
been out of a
and
job lickety split.
yeah. And
He
and I
also
mean,
used to throw his
let's
keys
face
at
it.
us if we sassed him. So
It's really really safe here too.
yeah,
Like I mean, I've been here on my own since December, and I don't feel unsafe at all. I walk to the grocery store in the dark all the time. Not anymore because it doesn't get the grocery store closes before the sun goes down. But it's safe here.
yeah,
So, you don't have that kind of, oh my God, I'm in the woods by myself or the kids are in the woods by themselves or something. But it was never you dropped your children off in the woods and let them find their way home, but the Dutch are just like, what, and I mean, kids are out by themselves all the time. They're out on their bicycles with their friends,
Mm-hmm.
or on their roller skates or skateboards with their friends,
Mm-hmm.
and it's safe here.
Yeah, it's like America was when we were children, where our mothers would kick us out. Or I don't know if yours did, but mine, would when the sun starts to go down, come home.
My mother was already starting to get the insanity of
no.
somebody is going to steal my baby off the street.
Mine was just like, get out, go do something, come back when the street lights come on.
Yeah, I had to go home when the street lights came on. Yeah, but yeah, and I played in the woods. The woods right behind my house are fucking strip mines. I mean, I would
right.
play in the overgrown strip mines by myself. So but yeah, I didn't intend this podcast to be about
We did have a topic, but now we're like 42 minutes into the podcast, and we just
that's all right.
Kind of rambling.
This is fine.
Yeah.
You people know us.
You're getting further insight into how we think and who we are, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. But let me tell you what.
What are we going to actually plug something now?
No, the INS, the IND, the immigration people are annoying fuckers no matter where you are in the world.
Yeah. It is what it is, though. We'll get through it. It's
just the hoops you have to jump through, and the over and over again, and just oh, now you have to fill out this. Oh, now you have to do that. Oh, now you have to prove this.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have to have this form. Oh, you have that form, but it has to be done this way. And oh God.
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of think that, I mean, I'm going to say something controversial, but I think that immigration law is an act of racism when it comes right down to it.
At the end of the day, I don't think you're wrong.
Yeah, because I think that when countries talk about immigration policy, what they're talking about is keeping their native-born population pure. And when politicians discuss immigration policy, they're always talking about how you have to prove that you want to be one of them.
Yeah. It's othering, and there's no other way to look at it than othering.
Yeah, and I mean, for a lot of people, I mean, the Netherlands, we love the Netherlands, and the Netherlands is really liberal-minded about many, many things. And yet, for some people, not us, but for some immigrants, you have to pass a test before you come here.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that test is a rudimentary knowledge of Dutch.
Mm-hmm.
And another part of that test is you have to swear or attest to the idea that you will conform to Dutch culture.
Yeah.
Which basically is in there to say you're not going to be discriminatory against, the Netherlands has had gay marriage for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
30 years. 30 years. Is it 30 years?
Something like that, yeah.
At least 25. We've had gay marriage before, like anybody else. And women's rights and all that kind of stuff. So it's definitely an anti-Middle Eastern,
it's anti-religious conservatism.
Yeah, you can't come here and treat women like second-class citizens. You can't come here and treat gay people like they're sick.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They don't make Americans sign that attestation.
Right, and let's not pretend there aren't plenty of Americans who believe that crap.
Yeah, they make Moroccans sign it. You know?
Well,
and I'm like,
at the end of the day, it's othering, and it's unpleasant. But the secular
And
humanist in me thinks
what
it's completely necessary, because otherwise you end up with you end up with you end up with these cancer cells that come in and start, making their big beard in the sky rules for everyone. And that,
well, yeah, but we've got Geert Wilders and Terry Baudet, so
yeah, but
they're native grown
they're
assholes.
not doing that for all their faults, and their faults are many and manifest. What they are not doing is insisting their women are subhuman.
I suppose.
I mean, the worst European conservative, the most fascistic European conservative, isn't, isn't saying, that God told me that my women can't leave the house unless they're whatever,
I would argue
or
with you.
accompanied by a male relative or some crap like that.
You never heard of Italy?
I suppose,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, I think you're wrong. You haven't lived in those places.
That's true.
Um, and 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 every misogynistic conservative will not say out loud they think women are subhuman. What they say is, we have to protect our women.
Yeah, true, true.
We have to protect them. You have to protect them by keeping them chained to the stove.
Yeah, that's I suppose you're right.
Oh, I got a good big beard story for you. Um, there was a story on Euronews this morning about a they call it a social kitchen,
Okay.
basically a place that feeds the homeless in Greece. And this man had opened it up because he decided he wanted to give back to the community, and he was giving meals to about 70 people a day.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's doing 3,000 because that's how many people need help. And I
Yeah.
forget what the name of the place is, but and they were interviewing him, and he's of course speaking Greek,
Yeah.
but then they overlay the English, but they're always a couple words behind.
Right.
And and of course it's Euronews, so they play it like every hour, and
Yeah.
I'm folding patterns, so I'm listening to the same story over and over again. And I realized that what they ask him, why do you do this? And the first thing he says is love. And in Greek, there are many words for love,
Mm-hmm.
but he said agape.
Yep.
And I was so touched, and it was just this, we have to take care of each other.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was this woman with her child, and the woman was brought her child, and it's Orthodox Easter.
Mm-hmm.
It's Greek Orthodox Easter this weekend. And the woman was, your typical Karen with her like 9, 10-year-old boy. And she said, we're volunteering this weekend rather than doing the normal Easter things. We're volunteering here at the social kitchen because I want him to understand that because he has privilege, he must help other people. And
Noblesse
that's
oblige.
yeah. And she said that is more important on Easter for us to do than to go to Easter services.
Good for them.
And
Good
because
for them.
that's what Jesus died for us.
Live in the Redwoods.
Yeah, Jesus died for us. I've almost got tears in my eyes so that we could help each other. And I thought, I don't know why the rest of you guys don't listen to her.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was just like, yeah, we're not doing any of that, and I mean, it was also motivated by, they're still under lockdown. They can't have big family Easter celebrations, dinners, church
Yeah.
services, and everything like that. But she was just like, yeah, we're here helping people out who really need our help. And like some of the people that they interviewed, like this one man they interviewed who was unemployed, he was 58, and he's a chef, and he has no job because the restaurant's closed.
Mm-hmm.
And he's sleeping in parks because he has no place to live. He can't pay his rent. And Yeah, it's terrible. But there, these people were helping out of the goodness of their heart, and I thought that's that's what we should be doing.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
what we need.
that's that's what you need to do. And I'm really happy to live in a place that is not letting, is doing things like paying restaurant owners so they can continue to pay their chef.
Yeah.
So while their chef isn't cooking for anybody, he's still got a paycheck and he still can pay his rent.
Yeah.
And, that you can't evict someone
Right.
because all that kind of stuff. Because, it's a horrible, horrible thing that we've gone through for the last year or so. And it shouldn't be a reason for us to be nasty to each other. It
Right.
should be a reason for us to help each other more.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And
If there's one thing the pandemic has exposed is just how many selfish bastards there are. in the
yeah, and
world.
also how many
Yeah.
truly giving people there are.
And I was about to say, if there's another thing it's exposed, is how many awesome people there are in the world.
and how quick the canals in Venice and the sky and everything can clear up and the birds can come back and the fish can come back and everything.
mhm.
How quickly that can happen if you just frickin' let it,
Yep. Yep.
you know?
Yep. You have to stop chasing money. You have to stop grubbing.
Yeah,
Which
I
is
mean,
hard.
we all need money to live, and we're all afraid that if we don't have enough, we'll end up
In
at
the
that
park.
social kitchen
Yeah.
begging for a meal. But you don't have to be mean to each other. There's the Expanse, one of the Belters things, the things that the Belters say is the more that you give, the more your bowl will be plentiful.
Mm-hmm.
And it's completely counterintuitive. I mean, the more you give, the less you have, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, if you give something, you don't have it anymore. But the Belter idea in the world of the Expanse is that if you give, everybody else gives, then everybody will have.
Mm-hmm.
And that the Belter way of living is different from the way of living on the inner planets because the Belters don't have air and warmth and food just growing out of the ground. They have to conserve everything. So if you keep all the oxygen to yourself, well, you might be able to breathe for a long time, but everyone else will be dead. So
yeah,
it's not going to do you any good.
Yep.
But what an interesting thought that the more you give, the more you'll have.
Mm-hmm.
And how that flies in the
as ye sow, so shall ye reap.
Yeah, but not quite. I mean, as ye sow, so shall you reap is more like, well, if you put ugly out there, you'll get ugly.
Yeah,
and if
true.
you put good out there, you'll get good. But, just the whole idea of if you give away your food, you'll never go hungry.
Yeah.
Which is incredibly counterintuitive. But the idea is that if you get everybody to do it,
mm-hmm. then nobody will go hungry.
Nobody will go hungry because everybody will take care of each other. And yeah, I'm all about that.
Hippie. Form your commune.
Yeah, it's really funny for someone as, misanthropic and
entrepreneurial
and solitary as I am. I'm like, okay, I will feed you, but go over there. Stay outside.
Yeah, exactly.
Other side of that gate.
You are welcome to everything I have that is not my personal space, and my personal space extends for 25 meters in a radius.
Other side of the hedge. Other side of the hedge.
Well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, that's about enough time for us to call this episode in it complete. Yeah, this is an interesting conversation. Maybe next time we'll actually talk about reconstructing history stuff, but maybe not. Maybe we'll just wither and ramble on like we do. It was nice catching up with you again, ladies and gentlemen. And as always, do the whole like, subscribe, ring the little bell so you get notified when new videos come up on YouTube. If you're following this, give us comments. Tell us what you'd want to hear us talk about. If you thought this was crap and you want us to focus, tell us. Comment on the video on YouTube. Comment on the podcast wherever you find it. Send us an email, info@reconstructinghistory.com. Will get to us. And, tell your friends. Share it around. And that's about all I got. So I guess we'll talk to you next week.
Bye.
Toodly pip.